They arrested her when she was 8 years old. The system tried to break her before she could even read at a high school level. It failed. JoAnne Bland, freedom fighter, foot soldier, daughter of Selma, passed away on February 19, 2026, at 72 years old. But her story doesn't end there. It echoes. According to Wikipedia and verified by the Equal Justice Initiative, on March 7, 1965, a child watched Alabama state troopers brutally beat the people she loved on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. JoAnne Bland was just 11 years old that day. Bloody Sunday. She watched her sister Linda take police batons to her head. She watched blood drip. She felt it on her own face. The violence was so savage that she fainted. People thought she was dead. But here's what they didn't count on. Some people don't break. Some people break open and pour out courage for 60 years. By the time JoAnne Bland turned 11, according to the Equal Justice Initiative, she had been arrested 13 documented times, 13 arrests, before she could legally drive, for asking to vote, for marching for freedom, for being black in a country that didn't want her to be. She could have stopped. She could have been silent. Most would have. Instead, she lived. In 1989, according to the Black Belt News Network, JoAnne Bland co-founded the National Voting Rights Museum and Institute in Selma. She didn't just remember history, she made sure we couldn't forget it. In 2021, she created Foot Soldiers Park with co-founder Kimberly Smitherman. The Equal Justice Initiative reports that her vision was radical in its simplicity, to show every child that they have the power to make great change in their community. Think about that. A woman who was jailed for voting rights spent her entire life teaching the next generation that their power matters, that change is possible, that ordinary people can move mountains. She founded Journeys for the Soul, a tour company where she personally walked visitors, including children, across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, the same bridge where she was beaten as an 11-year-old. She picked up the actual piece of cement from that day and told visitors standing on it, "John Lewis stood on that rock. This is my rock. This is where we changed history, U.S." Representative Terry Sewell said it perfectly. It was foot soldiers like JoAnne who put their lives and freedom on the line for the right of all Americans to vote. Those weren't just words. Those were truth. Selma Mayor Johnny Moss III released a statement saying, "Selma has lost one of her greatest daughters." The Black Belt News Network reported that everyone from activists to educators recognized her as the institution that kept Selma's truth alive when the nation wanted to move on and forget. Her family released a statement saying she departed this life surrounded by love, leaving behind a legacy of strength, grace, and unwavering dedication to her family and community. But here's what the official statements don't capture. A woman who was jailed at 8 years old lived to be 72 so she could ensure that her nieces, nephews, and every child in America knew that freedom isn't free. It's paid for in jail cells. It's paid for in blood. It's paid for in the unbreakable spirit of a child who wouldn't stay broken. JoAnne Bland marched so we could move forward. She was arrested 13 times so we could vote. She walked that bridge over and over so we would remember. She created spaces where children could touch the actual ground, where heroes stood so they would know, deep in their bones, that they could be heroes too. The civil rights movement didn't end with the 60s. It lived on in JoAnne Bland. It lived in her tours. It lived in her museum. It lived in every child who stood on that bridge and realized they had power. So here's what I want you to do in her honor. Go learn her story. Really learn it. Not from a history book that sanitizes it, but from the actual places she preserved. Visit Foot Soldiers Park if you can. If you can't, share her name. Share that she was arrested 13 times before age 11. Share that she turned that violence into a lifetime of teaching. Share that freedom has a name and a face and she just left us. The Voting Rights Act was signed in 1965 because of foot soldiers like JoAnne Bland. The least we can do is remember her name. Like this, share this, follow. Because JoAnne Bland marched so we could move forward. And it's our job to make sure her footsteps matter. Rest in power, Selma's daughter. Rest in power.